Some books try to teach you how to win in the world. Others try to teach you how to think differently. But a few books do something deeper. They ask you to look at the quiet relationship you have with yourself. The one no one else fully sees. The voice inside your mind. The beliefs you repeat every day. The wounds you carry without naming them. And the strange way those inner patterns shape your outer life. Most people spend years trying to fix their life from the outside. They chase better circumstances, better relationships, better work, better results. But what if the real healing does not begin outside at all? What if it begins with the beliefs you hold about your own worth? What if the pain you carry is not only emotional, but deeply connected to how you see yourself? Today's story is about healing. Not just physical healing, not just emotional healing, but the healing that begins when you stop living in silent war with yourself. It is about replacing self-criticism with compassion, fear with awareness, and old patterns with new possibilities. Hey everyone, welcome back to Inspired Pages. On this channel, we explore books that help us understand life, people, the mind, and the deeper patterns shaping our everyday experience. In our previous videos, we've talked about power, awareness, mindset, and inner transformation. Today, we are exploring a book that has touched millions of lives because of one simple but powerful message: your thoughts matter, your beliefs matter, and your relationship with yourself matters more than you may realize. Today's book is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. This is not just a motivational book. It is a book about emotional responsibility, self-love, forgiveness, and the deep connection between mind and life experience. Louise Hay's message is gentle, but it can feel confronting because it invites you to look honestly at the beliefs that may be shaping your pain. At the center of this book is one bold idea: many of the struggles we experience in life are connected to old thought patterns, unresolved emotions, and deeply rooted beliefs about ourselves. Louise Hay believed that when we change the way we think, speak, and feel toward ourselves, we begin to change the quality of our lives. Now this idea can sound radical at first. Many people are comfortable blaming circumstances, other people, childhood, society, or bad luck for everything that goes wrong. And to be fair, life does contain real pain, injustice, and difficulty. Louise Hay does not deny that. But she asks a deeper question. Once the pain has happened, what are you doing with it inside yourself? Are you continuing the wound through shame, resentment, guilt, fear, and self-rejection? Or are you beginning the work of healing? This is where the book becomes powerful. It shifts the focus from helplessness to awareness. It says that healing begins the moment you become conscious of your inner dialogue. Louise Hay explains that many of us are living with beliefs we did not consciously choose. Beliefs like, I am not good enough. I do not deserve love. Life is against me. Nothing ever works out for me. I will always struggle. These thoughts may feel normal because we have repeated them for so long. But repetition does not make them true. It only makes them familiar. And familiarity can be dangerous. A painful belief repeated long enough begins to feel like identity. It shapes your confidence, your decisions, your relationships, your stress, and even your body. You may not notice it consciously, but it influences how you respond to life. A person who believes they are unworthy may tolerate disrespect. A person who believes life is unsafe may live in constant tension. A person who believes they are powerless may stop trying before they even begin. Louise Hay's central message is that thoughts are not just passing mental events. They are creative forces. They influence how we feel, how we behave, and how we experience life. When negative thoughts become habitual, they create patterns of suffering. When loving and empowering thoughts become habitual, they open the door to healing. One of the strongest themes in the book is self-love. Louise Hay says that self-love is not vanity. It is not arrogance. It is not selfishness. It is the foundation of healing. If you secretly dislike yourself, judge yourself constantly, and speak to yourself with cruelty, then no outer success will truly bring peace. You can achieve goals, receive praise, and still feel empty because the inner relationship remains wounded. Many people know how to be kind to others but do not know how to be kind to themselves. They forgive others more easily than they forgive themselves. They speak gently to friends but harshly to their own mind. Louise Hay challenges this habit directly. She teaches that healing begins when you stop attacking yourself. Think about how often people carry invisible self-hatred. Not always in dramatic ways, but in ordinary ways. They call themselves stupid after a mistake. They compare themselves constantly. They feel guilty for resting. They feel ashamed for not being perfect. They believe they must earn love by performing, pleasing, sacrificing, or proving their value. This constant inner pressure becomes exhausting. Louise Hay invites the reader to practice a completely different approach, to look into the mirror, speak kindly to oneself, and begin rebuilding trust with the self from the inside out. For many people, this sounds simple. But in reality, it can be deeply emotional. Because when you try to say, "I love and accept myself," any hidden resistance rises to the surface. And that resistance tells you where the healing is needed. Another major idea in the book is forgiveness. Louise Hay believed that unforgiveness is one of the heaviest emotional burdens people carry. It can take the form of anger toward parents, resentment toward former partners, bitterness toward life, or even hatred toward oneself. And while holding on to these emotions may feel justified, they quietly poison inner peace. Forgiveness in this book is not about pretending the pain never happened. It is not about excusing abuse, betrayal, or injustice. It is about releasing yourself from carrying the wound forever. Because as long as resentment rules your inner life, the past still controls you. This is one of the deepest truths in the book. Many people think they are protecting themselves by holding on to pain. But often, they are only continuing it. Forgiveness does not always happen quickly. Sometimes it is a long process. But it begins with willingness. A willingness to stop identifying with old hurt as the center of your being. Louise Hay encourages readers to forgive not because others always deserve it, but because you deserve peace. She also places strong emphasis on the body and its connection to emotional patterns. This is one of the most well-known aspects of her work. She believed that different physical issues may reflect different emotional states or mental patterns. For example, she often linked chronic stress, resentment, fear, guilt, or suppressed anger with imbalance in the body. Now, whether someone agrees fully with every specific connection or not, the deeper message remains powerful: the mind and body are not separate. Emotional pain does not stay only in thoughts. It can settle into tension, stress, exhaustion, and physical suffering. Anyone who has experienced headaches from stress, stomach problems from anxiety, or fatigue from emotional burden knows this intuitively. The body listens to the mind more than we often realize. That is why Louise Hay invites readers to become aware not only of what they say out loud, but also of what they repeatedly say within. Every thought is like an instruction. Every belief becomes a kind of inner environment. If your mind is full of criticism, fear, and hopelessness, your whole system feels that. But if your mind becomes a place of compassion, trust, and possibility, healing begins to grow. One of the practical tools Louise Hay uses throughout the book is affirmations. Affirmations are intentional statements designed to replace destructive thought patterns with healthier ones. Statements like, I am willing to change. I deserve love. I am safe. Life supports me. I forgive myself. I am enough. Now some people dismiss affirmations too quickly. They hear them and assume they are unrealistic or superficial. But Louise Hay's point is not that repeating a sentence magically fixes everything overnight. Her point is that the mind is already full of repeated sentences. The question is whether those sentences are helping you or harming you. If someone has spent years repeating, I can't do this, I am broken, or nothing will ever change, then those are also affirmations, just negative ones. They reinforce limitation. Positive affirmations are an attempt to interrupt that pattern and create a new direction in thought. At first, the affirmations may feel unnatural. That is normal. A person who has lived in self-rejection for years will not instantly feel comfortable with self-love. But discomfort does not mean the practice is false. It often means the old identity is being challenged. Louise Hay emphasizes that change begins with willingness. You do not need perfect belief at the start. You only need a willingness to stop feeding the old story. This is one of the most hopeful parts of the book. It does not say you must become a completely different person overnight. It simply says you can begin where you are. You can notice a harmful thought and choose a better one. You can catch yourself in self-criticism and replace it with gentleness. You can stop repeating the emotional patterns that have been hurting you for years. The book also speaks deeply about childhood conditioning. Louise Hay explains that many of our beliefs are formed early in life. As children, we absorb messages from parents, teachers, culture, and our environment. If a child grows up hearing criticism, emotional neglect, fear, or rejection, they may develop beliefs like, I am not lovable, I must be perfect, or my needs do not matter. These beliefs then continue into adulthood unless they are consciously challenged. This means many people are not living from truth. They are living from old conditioning. And that is important because what was learned can also be unlearned. This is one of the most liberating ideas in the book. You are not trapped in every belief you inherited. You are not required to keep repeating emotional patterns just because they have been with you for a long time. Awareness gives you the power to change. Louise Hay often returns to the idea that the present moment is the point of power. You cannot change the past directly. You cannot fully control the future. But you can begin a new mental and emotional pattern now. Right now. In this moment. Through what you think, what you choose to believe, and how you speak to yourself. This focus on the present is deeply practical. Many people delay healing because they are waiting for perfect circumstances. They think they will begin loving themselves after they lose weight, after they earn more, after someone apologizes, after life becomes easier. But Louise Hay says healing does not begin after life changes. It begins when your relationship with yourself changes. That is a powerful shift. The book also addresses the idea of deserving. Many people unconsciously block joy, success, or love because they do not feel worthy of receiving it. They may say they want a better life, but deep down they believe they do not deserve it. This inner contradiction creates struggle. Part of them moves forward, while another part resists. Louise Hay teaches that worthiness is not something you earn through suffering or perfection. It is your natural state. You do not become worthy because you finally did everything right. You are already worthy, and healing begins when you remember that. This may sound simple, but for many people, it is revolutionary. Because shame teaches the opposite. Shame says, you are flawed at the core. Shame says, you must fix yourself before you can be loved. Shame says, your mistakes define you. Louise Hay's work pushes back against that with compassion. She reminds the reader that mistakes are not identity. Pain is not identity. The past is not identity. You are more than what happened to you. Another important teaching in the book is the idea that change often feels uncomfortable before it feels natural. That is true in nearly every area of life. A person who has lived in negativity may feel strange when practicing gratitude. A person who has lived in self-judgment may feel awkward when practicing self-kindness. A person who has carried resentment may feel resistance when beginning forgiveness. But the discomfort is not proof that healing is wrong. It is often proof that healing is unfamiliar. And unfamiliar does not mean impossible. Louise Hay's tone throughout the book is compassionate, almost nurturing. She does not speak like a harsh teacher. She speaks like someone who believes transformation is possible for everyone. Her message is that no matter how long you have carried pain, no matter how deeply rooted your patterns are, change can still begin. This is why the book has connected with so many readers. It speaks to the part of people that is tired of fighting themselves. Tired of shame. Tired of carrying old emotional wounds without relief. Tired of living from beliefs that were never truly theirs. At its heart, You Can Heal Your Life is an invitation to begin a new relationship with yourself. A relationship based not on punishment, but on patience. Not on criticism, but on compassion. Not on fear, but on trust. Not on old wounds, but on new awareness. And that does not mean life becomes perfect overnight. It means your inner foundation begins to change. And when the foundation changes, the rest of life gradually begins to respond. The way you speak changes. The way you set boundaries changes. The way you handle failure changes. The way you receive love changes. The way you care for your body changes. The way you imagine your future changes. Because healing is not only about removing pain. It is about restoring wholeness. Louise Hay reminds us that we are often much harsher with ourselves than life ever needed us to be. We carry punishments long after the lesson is over. We replay guilt long after the moment has passed. We keep identifying with brokenness when healing is already trying to begin. The book gently asks, what would happen if you stopped doing that? What would happen if you treated yourself like someone worth healing? What would happen if you believed your thoughts could change? What would happen if you released the old story that says you must stay wounded forever? This is why the book remains powerful. It is not just about affirmations. It is not just about positive thinking. It is about the deep emotional shift that happens when you stop seeing yourself as the enemy. And maybe that is where all real healing begins. Not with force. Not with shame. Not with pressure. But with awareness, forgiveness, and love. Toward the end of the message, the core lesson becomes beautifully clear. Healing is possible when you are willing to participate in it. Life may not always be under your control, but your inner response can change. Your beliefs can change. Your self-talk can change. Your emotional patterns can change. And through that change, life itself begins to open in new ways. You Can Heal Your Life teaches that your mind can become a place of healing rather than harm. Your heart can become a place of compassion rather than blame. And your life can begin to reflect the love you finally learned to give yourself. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause and reflect on the way you speak to yourself, then subscribe to Inspired Pages. On this channel, We explore books that help us grow in wisdom, awareness, emotional strength, and inner clarity. Share this video with someone who has been carrying too much self-criticism, too much guilt, or too much silent pain. Because sometimes the healing we need does not begin with changing the whole world. Sometimes it begins with changing the way we hold ourselves within it. This is Inspired Pages. Stay gentle with yourself, stay aware, and keep growing.